Hey there, thanks for stopping by. Sorry it's been a week or so, but got some new things arriving and some new things being tested. This is the Zero Tolerance 0909 folding knife. And this is the first Zero Tolerance folding knife that I've ever owned. I bought this one because I wanted a knife that was about as zero tolerance as you can get. I guess with the exception of it being a frame lock. This really is kind of the epitome of a zero tolerance knife, as in overbuilt, big, strong, somewhat tactical seeming blade. So I'll go over the facts, and then I'll go over what I like and what I don't like about the knife. So the facts of the knife are its size. It's obviously a large knife. That's not a surprise to you. If you were researching this knife, if you're planning on buying this knife, it would arrive and you wouldn't say, whoa, I thought this was a small knife. You know it's going to be a large knife. You read the specs, but to go over, the blade length is 3.8 inches long. That's a big blade. 4 inches would be, you know, a Falcon even F1. Actually, it's about exactly the same as a Falcon even F1. There we are. The handle is a, what are we? 4.75 inches, 12.1 centimeters, and overall 21.6 centimeters, 8.5 inches. This weighs 7.5 ounces. That's 212 grams. So a knife like the Benchmade Griptilian would be, I think that was about 90 grams. So it's about twice the knife of most of the standard everyday carry pure EDC pocket knives. So it's a big knife. It's got a liner lock. Use very thick liners there. Liner lock engages fairly well. Has a flipper. It's a flipper deployment. There's no thumb studs, nail nicks, spider holes, anything like that. The one way to open this knife is the flipper. The one way to close it is the liner lock. The handle is G10. It's a textured G10. Very similar in feeling to the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 textured G10, if you're after a comparison as to how textured it is. Getting towards the rough side of things. The pocket clip is the zero tolerance deep carry pocket clip. There's a lanyard hold there. The steel, S35 VN, the blade drop point. What do I like about this knife? Well, I actually like a fair bit of it. I like the size of the knife. I wouldn't want every knife that I own to be this size, but for a 1 or 2 off big knife in my collection, this feels good. It feels very comfortable in the hand. They've used the bigness to full effect, making it feel like as sturdy as a fixed blade almost. It feels like a big, strong tank of a knife. There's no blade play. It does just feel like a bit of a hard user, I guess. I like the deep carry pocket clip. Mercifully, it's a deep carry pocket clip. I'll show you some frames of me with this in my pocket, and you'll see that even with the deep carry pocket clip, a little bit definitely sticks out still. So very much merciful, rather than putting in, say, this Benchmade clip here, which would probably stick another inch on this already fairly wide bit here that sticks out of my pocket. So I like the deep carry pocket clip. I love the flipper. Flipper knives. I have the Spyderco Mantra. And once you use this knife, you realize that this isn't necessarily an amazing flipper. It's got a knack to it. So if you learn how to push it right, it shoots right out. And it is still a very smooth knife, and it's a very high quality knife, but the D10 isn't anywhere near as strong, and the action isn't anywhere near as natural as on this zero tolerance here. And that's probably for a couple of reasons. One is because the blade's nice and big and heavy, and it really does swing out. The second thing is the bearing system that it runs on, the KVT bearing system, zero tolerances, choice of like a washer with ball bearings in it, sort of thing. And that just makes it launch out. This feeling of it launching out, it feels a bit like it's that one of those really satisfying machiny feelings. Like, listen to it. It's like racking the slide of a handgun back or something like that. It's one of those really satisfying. You could just do that all day. It's really, really smooth, really, really nice, and it just seems really well made. The knife just jumps to attention, and it just seems so ready to go when you flip that open. It is like that adjective people use of firing the knife. The verb rather people use of firing the knife. You do really feel like you're firing this knife With this one, you feel like you're opening it or deploying it or something like that. It's a different thing. There's another sort of size comparison there. I know size comparisons are funny with knives. That doesn't look like a much, it's not like it's like I'm holding up a hubcap next to the Spyderco there. It doesn't look so much huger than it actually is, but when you actually hold the two of them in your hand, not only is it twice the weight, it's just thick and just big, strong. Like those liners are about as thick as the actual handle scales on the Spyderco there. Yeah. Anyway, I'm digressing. What else do I like about this knife? I like the G10. It's good. It's fairly grippy. It probably makes the knife seem a little bit less premium than some of the other zero tolerances, as in it doesn't have a titanium one side and a carbon fiber on the other, whatever zero tolerance does tend to do. But it's grippy and it's practical. The handle's very, very well shaped. I like the handle. I like a lot of things about this knife. I like a lot more than I don't like. So it's a grippy handle and it's really, really comfortable. There's some useless jimping here, which is kind of just more for the effect of, your thumb resting on something, just that tactile feeling, rather than actually holding your hand. And you know what, you really don't need to be having jimping and gripping your thumb, because the grip is so good and there's a perfectly good stop with the flipper making a finger twirl there. So you don't really need jimping, it's more just ceremonial or something similar. Couple of grips available on the handle, the standard hammer grip, very, very comfortable. This is all wide enough, so it's not like one of those narrow pinchy corridors that tends to grab the fat of your hand, so you can really just squeeze this knife really, really hard. As with most flipper knives, the only hot spot ends up being the flipper if you grip a bit too far forward, but it's nothing to write home about at all. It's got a really nice parrot's beak on the back. You can sort of hold back on this knife and you could chop a couple of things with it if you're really stuck. Or if you were trying to crack open a a hard type of nut or fruit or something like that, maybe it'd be really good, say gardening, getting the pumpkins from their stems, that sort of stuff. Parrot's beak really does enable that sort of that catch there. It does catch the hand. So I like a lot of things about it. I like the jimping on the flipper there, and I like how the flipper is nice and round. It's not like a pointy, catchy thing that catches your hand in your pocket. What don't I like about the knife? Well, there's a couple of little issues. I don't like this pivot sticking out. I know they're going for the sort of hard use look, but I think people would assume this was a hard use knife without having an actual bolt as a pivot mechanism. So kind of just for show, and it sits proud of the handle, which doesn't really seem necessary to me. They could have sunk it in, done something different. There's a couple of spots on the G10 where, and this is real finicky, but it does actually stick out above the liner a little bit, so it's a little bit sharp, like your fingernail catches. Fingernail catches on that a little bit. So I'm not thrilled with that. I wouldn't mind, and I know the parrot's beak is good, but it does still stick out a fair bit from your pocket. But for a large knife, well, this is the largest folding pocket knife I've ever had, it does still carry fairly well, so it's not all lost there. What else? The liners aren't milled out at all, so the weight probably is more than it would have to be. You could have milled these liners out, wouldn't have sacrificed any strength, and perhaps a little bit less. And to keep them thick, that's fine, but you can almost hollow these out, skeletonize them completely, and it would still be just as strong a knife. I mean, cold steel knives are strong without having any liners in them at all. The G10's a strong material. It's a modern, strong, sort of super plastic type thing, so they've kind of gone a bit overboard there with overbuilding it, but then as the company says, they're proudly overbuilding their knives. Just a couple of comparisons, I guess. Let's hold it up next to a standard Swiss Army knife. That's what we all know. So you see the Swiss Army knife is about as long as the blade there. Let's deploy that. This is the standard 91mm Swiss Army knife. It's dwarfed by Benchmade Griptilian. We all sort of handled them in our time, so that's much more of a pure EDC knife. This knife's perhaps not for pure EDC. Benchmade 940, sort of a largish knife. Still seems like it's dwarfed. It's so much lighter than this. Is about 3 ounces. This is 7.5. So just dwarfed by this one. So what's this knife for? It's not an everyday carry knife, in my opinion. It's something for your tool belt. Something for if you're an outdoor worker, like say if you're a park ranger or if you're a ambulance officer, a fireman or a policeman or something like that. It's like a big trustworthy work companion. It's a knife for the weekends to just carry and enjoy on the weekends, just because you like your folding knives. But it's not something to disappear into your jeans pocket every day, and not like the Benchmade does, where that deep carry clip just hides it away completely. It's nice and thin, and it's light, and so it's certainly not for every day. It's made out of good materials. It's very high quality. S35VN is the first knife I've had in that steel, so I won't make too much comment on it, although I'm fairly certain that it should be a good knife. The designer of this knife is Les George, and this is practically a reimagining of one of his custom knives. So it's a bit of the history behind the knife there. This is new for 2016, and you pay about $250 for it from Aussie Knives in Australia. They've got a bit of zero tolerance going on there now, so you should definitely check it out. Urban Conquest also has a few zero tolerances going, and they can certainly order them in really easily for you as well, if there is one that you do want. But right now I'm just in love with this knife and its action and its stoutness, and it's almost comedic how big and overdone it is, but certainly an enjoyable knife. And if you just want to buy a knife to enjoy and to play with, and to perhaps just take out to your friends' places and have with you on the weekends, and take it out walking and things like that, it's probably a really good knife to have. It'll do a lot for you. The blade should, I didn't really talk about the blade yet. I will just cover this. This is a really thick blade. It's so a lot thicker than your standard, your Benchmade 940s and all that sort of thing. It's a lot thicker than your Spyderco Mantra slicer grind. However, because it's nice and broad, it actually does slice really well. I'll just show you some footage of me slicing with it. When you make a thick blade, it's very important to make it wide across the face like this, so then you can make the grind very gradual. So this has just got a high saber grind. Say, look at the saber grind on the Benchmade. This would probably be a better slicer than this Benchmade, even though it's much thicker, because the Benchmade only has about 3/4 of an inch of space there before it terminates from the thickest part of the blade to the thinnest part. Whereas this has 2 inches, a full inch, an inch and a bit even, of blade face from that flat part to terminate into a really sharp keen edge, and it is a very sharp keen edge from the factory. So the zero tolerance, 0909. I'm really happy with it, and I think if you're just starting out in zero tolerance and you want to get a knife that's representative of how the brand started, what the typical knives are, I think this is a great one. Zero tolerance are making some really nice smaller knives now as well. The zero tolerance 0450 is definitely on my list, and that's just in your more of your standard 3-inch blade type size there. So perhaps that's one to look at too if this one is a little bit too large, but you want a zero tolerance for that excellent flipping action and the high quality materials and the made in America and all that sort of business. Alright, that'll do us for now. Thanks for watching my review. I'll see you in the next one. There's a few coming up, so stay tuned.